Hello and welcome to this week's practice for the core. We're going to have the core in mind as we go through some simple movements, mostly on the floor. So today you're going to want a mat or just comfortable surface to lay on, preferably a fairly firm one, a blanket, and a strap that is set up in a large loop, as large as you're able to go, okay? A large loop. All right, so once you have everything you need nearby, we can get started. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is playing with some very subtle pelvic tilts. So the energy, the muscular effort that's happening is all in this very lower abdomen, hip, kind of pelvic floory core area. And it's not a big movement, it's gonna be very, very subtle. But if you're laying here on the floor, you might notice that your back kind of dips away from the floor a little bit in the low back. What we're going to do is we're going to very gently, very slowly, very softly start rotating the pelvis back so that the pubic bone moves up, and it's going to slightly flatten that lower back to the floor. And then we're going to let it go. Slowly engage again, rolling back. It's very subtle, it's very soft. There's not a lot of noise happening in the abdomen. It's not a crunch, right? But if I have my fingers on the pochiote bones, you might notice that they shift upward as I rotate my pelvis or tilt, and then they start to move away as I let things relax. Now, this is sometimes a very tricky area at first for people to kind of get in touch with, and it can take a bit to have your brain like really figure out what it's supposed to be doing and which muscles it's supposed to be talking to. So that's fine. If you're not getting this right away, it's not a big deal. You will get there eventually. Just keep breathing, just keep it soft and slow, and just trust the process. Now we're gonna let that relax. We're gonna keep our knees bent, and we're gonna grab the strap. So you're going to place it around the ball of your right foot, and your arms are going to reach up through it, okay? You can play with how straight the knee is. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight. We're going to let the core relax. We're just going to breathe. And in this exercise, we are trying to do tandem flexion of the hip and shoulder joint and extension of the hip and shoulder joint without a lot of spinal movement happening in between. Now, as your foot comes up, your pelvis is going to tip back, and you might get a similar back flattening towards the floor situation happening as we were just practicing before, and that's fine. But basically, we're focusing on the shoulders and hips moving while we have a quiet spine and softly engaged core. So right now, the weight of my leg is pulling my arms down towards my belly, and now I'm using my arms to a little more actively pull my foot towards my head. Really slow, really slow. This is not necessarily a stretch, so you do not need to have the leg totally straight. You do not need to pull the leg so far that you get a strong stretch down the back line of your leg. We are literally just mobilizing the joints. We're coordinating them to move together in the same direction at the same time. And in the meantime, the channel of communication between them, the literal body part that lives between these two joints that are moving, your spine and your core and your rib cage, is just kind of quiet. It's just kind of hanging out. It's not really involved in this, okay? So we can switch feet, put the left foot into the strap, bring the right foot to the floor. Same idea. We're just going to pull that foot gently towards the head. We're not going for a big stretch. Your low back might flatten a little bit. And then we're going to let the weight of the leg pull the arms down. And same idea. We're just allowing these two different ball and socket joints on either end of your spine to just move in a very coordinated way, in tandem with each other, with ease, while the core and the spine are just hanging out. And you can trust that your core is likely engaging in a very subtle way. You do not necessarily need to intentionally do that. Okay, so we're going to take that strap off the foot. We're going to set this aside. Now, this might be where you want a blanket rolled up nearby, just in case your leg doesn't drop as far. So what we're going to do is the right leg is going to lay out stretched. I've got the blanket on this side. Bring the knee in towards the chest just a bit. Your arms can be outreached, or you can leave the right hand on the outer left knee. And we're going to start to lift. We're going to move that leg across body. The left hip is going to leave the floor. And we're just coming into a simple reclined twist. So you may eventually want, this isn't really big enough, but you may eventually want something over here that will catch your leg if going too far is uncomfortable. You can also just let it go to the floor, and if your left shoulder starts to lift and your left arm starts to drag, that's okay. It's not bad. It just means that you've run out of twist and now your shoulder girdle is lifting off the floor to come with. Okay, we're going to start to come out of that. So that left hip's going to return to the floor, foot is going to land, and we're going to switch sides. So take a moment and just lay with both legs outstretched while you get your blanket ready on the other side if you need it. Left leg is going to stay flat on the floor, right knee is going to come in towards the chest. I'm going to have my right arm outstretched, left hand resting on my outer right knee. As that right leg starts to cross the midline of my body, my right is hitting the floor, and I'm twisting through the spine. And if I keep going, my shoulder and arm are going to start to move. That's okay. And we're just going to breathe here. So right now we're kind of just passively moving, placing the core into a twist. We're not really doing anything with it here. We're just kind of wringing it out a little bit. Okay, when you're ready, you can start to bring that right leg back. You can either come into a Shavasana for a moment, or you can have your knees bent, feet flat on the floor if that's more comfortable for you. Okay. Take a couple breaths, and then we're going to start exploring the very early stages of an exercise that's called dead bug, okay? So you are going to bring your legs into this position, knees bent, feet flat on the floor. Your arms are going to reach overhead. You're going to be moving one arm at a time overhead while the other stays still. Our core will naturally be gently engaged. You want to make sure that you're breathing. But what we're hoping to do is move the arms one at a time without the belly gripping, without holding the breath, without losing that shape on the floor, like lifting away from the floor when you go. Okay, so we're just trying to have a really quiet torso while the arms move one at a time overhead. Okay, so do that 2 more times on each side. You can try exhaling as you lower the arm, inhaling as you lift the arm. You can also try inhaling as you lower the arm, and exhaling as you lift the arm. And so from here, we're going to come up to sit. We're just going to sit forward on the blanket so that the pelvis naturally has a bit of an anterior tilt to it. That's going to make sitting up tall a little bit easier. Your core is still going to be engaged naturally, but it's relaxed and it's calm. We're going to come to our breath. Inhale, exhale, feeling the rib cage expand in all directions. And on your next inhale, you can inhale the arms up, exhale them down. Inhale the arms up, so the arms are moving, we're breathing, our rib cage is expanding, our core is softly engaged and quiet Exhale the arms down. And now we'll start to add a twist. So you'll stay forward as you inhale the arms up. And you'll exhale as you twist to the left or the right, whatever. Hands come down. Inhale the arms back up as you face forward again. Exhale as you twist to the right. Inhale the arms up one more time to each side. So exhaling to the left. Inhaling up. Exhaling to the right. And inhaling up. Exhale, hands come back to knees, sitting tall, returning to your breath, tall, quiet spine, feeling the rib cage expanding in all directions. Spine is long, top of the head is reaching for the ceiling. I hope you enjoyed this practice. Thank you for moving with me today. I'll see you next week.